Okay, I think we're good to go. Cool. Thanks everyone for coming along, wherever you are around the world. Shall we start off, as we usually do with the virtual meetups, with a little introduction for everyone? So I'm Mike Macy. I organise the virtual meetup. I'm an Umbraco master. I'm a developer at Yo Design in Tunbridge Wells. Been using Umbraco for 3 years or so, 4 years now, a while. And that's me. I'll go, Matt, introduce yourself.
How long we got? I'm Matt Brailsford. I run a small company called Outfield Digital, but we do a bunch of other things as well. So we organise CodeGarden, which is an Umbraco event. We've recently taken over to e-commerce, so that's a big thing for us as well. And then just plenty of kind of open source package development on top of that as well. Carol?
Hi. I'm Carol Logan. I am a developer and team lead at Equator, an agency here in Glasgow, and I run the local Umbraco meetup and a couple of other meetups too. Seb?
Yes, sorry, distracted. Hi, Sebastiaan, work at Umbraco HQ and do stuff with pull requests, which is great. Mike?
Hi, I'm Mike Taylor. I work for a company called Flag. I don't really do much development anymore, but I've done a few CodeGardens, one CodeCabin, and just started doing the Umbraco practitioners virtual meetup as well. So that's me. Let's go, Rene.
Hi, I'm Rene. I'm a lead developer. An architect, been working with Umbraco for 4 years. So that's it. And let's go to Dean.
Hi, I'm Dean. Run a little agency in Colchester, Essex, with my business partner who's based in Geneva. I know, modern world. And I also run a little tech meetup called Colchester Digital. And I predominantly do front-end web development, but I passed my Microsoft C# beginners exams at the start of the year, so I'm now starting to muck about with Razor a bit.
God spare us all. Just kidding.
Meeting room.
Hi, yeah, I'm actually called Lottie. I'm in the meeting room. Thought I'd come into the office on a Saturday. Web developer in London, help organise the London meetups. Yeah, that's me. And I'm eating my lunch, sorry. Rachel? Do we have a Rachel?
Your phone was on mute. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a senior developer. I've been working with Umbraco for around 6 years. I work at a digital agency called Sigma, and we're based in Macclesfield. Emma's on. Soren?
One of us.
You go for it.
Yeah. Soren, I work at Norwegian, Copenhagen in Denmark. I've been working with Umbraco ever since it's 3 years now. Denmark is obviously is a very known character, so I've known about him for the last 20 years.
I think your mic's a little bit faulty, Soren.
Yeah, sorry about that. I haven't got a dedicated mic, so I'm using that one.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Currently, we're wondering if we're going to jump on the next version this week because we have a few projects starting on. This is long if we do. And I would like to hear about the other side.
think the other Søren was off for a bit.
Oh, sorry. Who can I choose?
Hi, I'm Owen, based in Edinburgh. Work for a small company called Lewis. Been there for about a year and a half now. I organise the Edinburgh Umbraco meetup, and yeah, that's about it really. I'll nominate Nita.
Hi there, Nita Natarajan here. So I'm in Bombay. I've been working with Umbraco for about 2.5 years. And we have a meetup here also. So that's about it. Thanks.
Who do you want to introduce next, Nita?
Did you all hear me? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. The other Soren, I think? Oh no, he was chosen already.
I think it's Adam or Emma by the looks of it.
Or Renee.
Renee's been.
Okay, fine.
So he has.
Adam?
Sounds good. Yeah, hi, I'm Adam Warner. I am an independent developer here in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. Brought Umbraco to a company I'm working with now in a long-term contract. I'm just looking forward to being here. And I'm sorry, did I hear someone else had not gone yet?
Emma Bestow.
Oh, okay.
Hi. That's okay. Yeah, I'm Emma Bestow. I'm a back-end developer. I work for a company called Powered by Pi in Reading, and I've been working with Umbraco for about, well, coming up for 4 years. And I also work on the PR team with Seb and some other people who aren't here today. And that's it. That's everyone. So I won't nominate anyone.
So someone can introduce himself when he comes back. Cool. Okay, so I thought, first off, a little bit of news about Umbraco Virtual as a whole. At the moment, I've been using Attending.io to organise the meetups. Moving forwards, been speaking with Ilham at Umbraco HQ, and they're graciously letting us use the Umbraco, the Meetup Pro account. So all of the Umbraco Virtual stuff will be moving over to meetup.com. And in terms of another bit of news, I probably should have got the link up ready, but if you run a meetup in your area, you want to start one, Ilham's actually created a really nice document on the CMS repo. I will find the link and put it up somewhere in a minute. So if you are interested in starting your own meetup and want to use meetup.com, Umbraco HQ will now be able to help you out, which is absolutely fantastic. So thank you, HQ, for that. Oh, there we go. Nice one, Nita and Sebastiaan. Cool. So that's out. Emma's gone. So shall we start off with... I was going to start off with Sebastiaan, with the PR updates and whatnot, but obviously with the V8 penultimate, what's the word, upcoming release, I didn't know whether we wanted to just talk about it as a whole, or whether, Sebastiaan, you had any further comments to say on that, and you can take it from there.
It's ready.
Well, I'll tell you what. Shall we let you take it away on the PR stuff, and you can go from there.
I am covering V8 as well, so.
Cool. Okay, go for it then.
All right. Let me do a screen share. Why do I put Zoom? I'll put it here. There we go. Main screen. Can we all see?
We can indeed. I can at least.
Sweet. Let me see. Is this last month? Yeah, cool. So I've been, together with everybody else at HQ, I've been a little bit busy with getting this V8 release ready. So I haven't been blogging about the pull request progress too much. But there is lots of interesting good news. So I don't think I've blogged for two months. Last month's numbers look a little bit like this. We've had more PRs merged and closed than created, so that's always great. And we have about 100 open still that need to be dealt with. They're pretty much old ones now. December was also really good. So we had over 80, almost 80 PRs merged or closed, whereas 57 created. And the most awesome thing here is that January has been the most new PRs since Hacktoberfest this year. So that's the second most number of PRs ever that we've gotten, which is super cool. And I think 90% of these PRs are all Ken Jacobson, who's been testing out V8, finding things, fixing things. So the reason that we can release it now with a lot of polish is all due to Ken. So yeah, it's been a very busy month in January, but I'm super happy that we've been able to keep up with all the new incoming stuff. So yeah, looking good. And behind me, my what's it called? Screen is not there anymore. But behind me, you will see something like this. So for this month, I think I need to catch up a little bit. But already 90 created as well, so yeah, it's getting up there again. It's getting pretty high, so all good. A lot of it is polish for V8, and that's super great. And I expect a lot more to come in after we release this final release, of course.
I added another PR for you literally half an hour ago.
Who uses IE11 anymore?
Hey, I know. It's a tiny little thing, but people use it.
But IE is going to be using Chrome soon, right? Oh no, that's Edge.
That's Edge, yeah.
Anyway, so yep. So all good news there, and I look forward to this influx of V8 stuff to go down a little bit, so we can concentrate on the bigger PRs again. But so far so good. Very happy, and super cool contributions have been coming in. I also need to give a big thumbs up to Bjarne, who's been helping us fixing UI UX stuff a lot as well. It's been very helpful. Yeah. Any questions on that? Then I'll do a little bit about V8. So all credit for this one goes to Lottie, because she's prepared all of the content for whatever I'm going to say.
I just thought of one question.
Yeah.
So for anyone adding pull requests or commits to Umbraco in this moment, is it just the case, is the dev-v8, is that now the branch to work to?
Yep.
And for people who want to do PRs to v7 still, is it just a case of making sure that you update the branch you're submitting your pull request to V8 manually?
Yeah, so dev-v8 is the new branch for all V8 development. Dev-v7 is still there for v7 stuff. Yeah, you can do either.
And temp 8 doesn't exist anymore, does it? And
temp 8 is dead because it's not temporary anymore.
Yeah.
We decided to release it after all.
Fantastic.
And one good thing to note is that everything that you PR for V7 will be merged upwards to V8 as well, if possible, of course. Anything that has to do with master pages will not be merged upwards because they don't exist anymore in V8. Yeah. So, V8. What is this all about? Oh, Mike is in a panic. It's almost here. Version 8.0.0 to be released on Thursday. How do I get rid of the help? Oh,
Tuesday.
Button. Tuesday. That's what. Did I say Thursday?
Yeah.
Well, wishful thinking. Wish I had some more time.
That's 8.1.
That is wishful thinking. Tuesday, of course. Yes. So we're pretty much well, we're ready to go. We have some stuff on hour to do and some other preparations, but other than that, we have a wonderful version ready to ship. I've installed it already on this machine. The starter kit has installed, and I should have started with. Does this look like a normal V7 site to you? Well, it is really not. It is a V8 site. So, what's V8? V8 is obviously, as we can see in the back office, complete. Maybe not complete, but a big redesign of all of the UI there. We're getting rid of the sidebar on the left to make some more space, and all of the left-hand items have moved up to the top. By popular request, the settings and developer section have been merged into one, so you now don't have to remember, oh yeah, document types are in settings and developer has templates. It's not that important. So yep, very cool. The rest of the experience that you will notice most to be updated is the content editing area, and the great things we have there are several apps. So there's a content app where all of your content lives. There's the info app where we have things like the links to content and document types templates. And there's more apps that you can make yourself. We recently had a content app, what do you call it, competition. And the pre-flight module that Nathan Wolf did won that one. So that's I didn't install it, or I don't have it actually. But that's an app that looks at the content that you've written here, and it analyzes it for weird stuff, or maybe you've missed things, or you're not allowed to use these words. All kinds of contextual information that you've for the content that you've entered in this area. For the people who hated accordions, we used to have each of these groups used to be an accordion which was collapsible. The accordions are gone now; they're no longer collapsible. But it is still a list of items. Dean is shaking his head. The thing that we have for navigation, instead of having tabs, is this group drop-down, and we'll see how it goes. We think it's a better experience so far, and we look forward to all of your feedback on how this is a horrible experience for you. We've heard you. Lying low, burnt mill, and cloud water. It's really good. I have to promote my beer choice every week. Ah, Chimay, there we go.
Delicious.
Good Belgian beer.
Yeah.
So that's content and switching between stuff and doing stuff. The rest should look pretty familiar. We have our regular editing area there. The cool thing here is that if we go to the info tab and we decide that we want an extra property on our home document type, we have something called infinite editing that will allow you to stay in context. So we're still on our home content item, but we can add a property there. My test. Oops. And make it simple, a text string. As soon as you save this this guy, it reloads the content item, or at least it tries to, and it gives you the new extra field that you've been editing. So this is nice. And then of course it broke. This is a nice way for developers to make rapid changes to the doc types without having to go, oh yeah, I have to have the settings section open with the doc type so I can update the doc type and then switch between tabs to see the updates. Yeah, this is all a little bit easier now. The other thing that we can do with infinite editing here is for example, things like a media picker now immediately opens the media item if you click edit on top of the content item that you were working on. I don't have any crops here, but if I had multiple crops, I could adjust them here. And as soon as you save, it's saved in the media section, and we're back to our content item. So we're staying in our current context that we so that we don't have to remember. So this is good for editors as well. So I'm reading off the notes that, thank you, Lottie, for the notes for your presentation, because of course I didn't prepare very well. I'm sure yours went better than mine will.
I ended up pointing out some things that are already in V7, which was
all right.
So that's
That's all right. Maybe people have forgotten about them already. So.
Well, if you just keep upgrading, you don't switch to the new version and that's the media picker, and then you don't find out about these things.
Very good. This is very true. I have a thing about buttons here. Finally, the save button is separate from the save and publish button, so that you can easily click save. Save and publish is a little bit different. Shouldn't I see? Oh yeah, if you have multilingual content, which we'll get to in a minute. Do I have one set up with multilingual? Ah, not yet. Okay. Then I'll get to that in a minute. But then your save and publish button. Found a bug. Will be looking a little bit more like this, where you get an overlay to do the publishing for multiple. What do you call it? Multiple languages. We'll get to multilingual in a minute. Let's see what else. Oh, list views. List views have been updated a little bit. Switching into an item. Lottie really enjoyed the little back button here instead of having to go back in the what's it called? The navigation here. You can just go back to your list, and then you're back to your overview again. Then infinite editing, I covered. Variants, that is one of the main new features in Umbraco 8, of course. When we go to our, let's make a content page variant, for example. We can say this item we will be allowing vary by culture, which means we can make multiple translations of this. Of course, that doesn't make much sense if we only have one language. So currently I should probably have a single drop-down with no other languages, which doesn't make any sense. So we need to add a language. And the language will be the one that I speak the best, is probably Dutch. There we go. Oh, not, well, St. Maarten, they speak the same kind of Dutch, but Netherlands, that's where I'm from. We can choose, when we create a language, we can choose if it's the default language. So most of your editors will be editing in Dutch, then you can choose this as a default language. We could also make it mandatory, so in case you don't fill in all of if you don't fill in the language, then it won't be able to publish the other languages either. So it will be mandatory language. And this is, for example, very good in Belgium, where you have to have both Flemish and Wallonian or French, and it's mandatory for a lot of government sites to have both. So you can enforce this way. If you have a site that you are in the process of translating, maybe, or it doesn't really matter too much if you have some mixed languages, then you can say we can choose a fallback language. So if you don't fill in Dutch, then we'll fall back to whatever is in the English version instead. I think you can still do your own fallbacks as well. If you don't enable this, you can do your own fallbacks in your templating as well. Cool. So added language. Then we can go back to our about page, and we have the ability to translate this page into Dutch. As I said, the save and publish option then changes a little bit. It becomes a dialogue where we ask which of the languages that are available we would like to publish. This one is already completely published, so it doesn't give you the option to publish it as well. Yes, thank you, Vordo. You served us well for the past few years. The other options here are to schedule the publish options, or the content item, so we can set a date for the future, and we can also set an unpublished date. And I just realized why this might be a little bit broken here. These are falling off a little bit, and that's because I think because this map thing is here. That's new. We'll have to look into that for our starter kit. So scheduling works. We can publish all of the children as well, maybe even including drafts. So all of these messages have also become a lot more clear as to what will happen when you try to do this. Cool. Let's see what they're not covered yet. I'm not going to create a French version of the website like Lottie did. Did that work? Kind of.
I forgot to set up the culture for the English site, so I was why the routing wasn't working. But luckily, you have a room full of clever people who no mistakes. So once I did that, it all worked. Nothing went wrong when I demoed.
Wow. Your demo skills are on par.
Or you write good software.
Did you remember to pray to the demo gods, Sebastiaan?
I always do, but they never listen. The other thing we have, which I almost forgot about, is now that we have 2 languages to edit, we might want to compare them side by side, so we can actually see what we're doing, what was in the English version, and what do we want in the Dutch version. Currently, the only thing I can edit is the about, or it's the name of the item, but I'll change that in a second. But the split view here allows us to see the differences between the 2 different languages, so we can easily go, oh yeah, that was what it was supposed to say. If I exit this for a second and say, oh, where's my document type here? Infinite editing is so nice. And I go to, so I can allow, let's see, that's the downfall of infinite editing. Inheriting from content base, and I can't go there. Oh no. I don't have any custom properties on here. Oh no. Okay, then we have to go into our settings section. So we can only edit the current document type, but not the thing that we're composing it of. So I need to start doing things in here. On each property, once we say allow varying by culture, on each property we have an option to also allow the individual properties to vary by culture. Some of them you might not want to, but in our case we do want to do that. So I've mentally put a feature request in now, so we can also go to our compositions while infinite editing. So let's see, if we then open split view, then we see we actually have the option to change the page title. And we can start adding stuff that is different from our normal about page. Hello. Oh, that's not Dutch. There. Do not look at doc type, Søren. That was an experiment I was working on this week. And people have been talking about this doc type grid editor a lot for the past few days. So I was trying stuff out. It's not working yet. Now I'm getting people curious. Speaking of nested content, We have. Do we have a nested content item here somewhere? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Let's set one up quickly. Nested. Yes. Oh, we do have one. Product features. Cool. I can go there. Products. And come on. Where are the product features? Features, yay! So product features is a nested content data type here, and what we can do here is, instead of having nested content items being actual document types, we can tell the document type that it is an element. So it's not a thing that we can use anywhere in the site. Or as an actual content node, but it will be an element that is just available as something that we can work with in the content editing area. This is useful for nested content and for hopefully upcoming things like stacked content and inner content and whatever else uses blocks of content that are like a document type, but they are not really a document type. Possibly the grid as well. I'm not sure actually. Well, if you have a doc type grid editor, then it's indeed useful. So, yep, element types cannot be created in the content tree. They don't get a route, so they're not available as on a URL, and you cannot do things to them that you can do to normal content items. They only make sense as a block of content with multiple properties on them. Forms. Very good. That should work. Forms V8 is ready to roll as well, and I should be able to demo that when it's done installing on the contact page. Should have actually shown you the contact page before, but it is currently just showing a GUID and not the actual content form, but contact form. But right now it will start showing the contact form on this page. And when we fill it in, it's a valid phone number. Boom. You should be able to send a message, and the form will be submitted to our new forms section. Yay! I have left a comment or a contact item. Yes. Forms hasn't changed much, but it's been of course upgraded to work exactly like it did before with V8. Speaking of packages, there is not a lot of them right now, but there's a few. There's also a few mistakes in here. T-commerce doesn't yet work with V8, and I think one of the other ones also doesn't yet work. I've been trying to figure out on our Umbraco how these search results end up here, and it's still a bit of a mystery to me. But I'll get back to that next week. Lottie was preparing her talk at the at the London meetup this week, and was wondering what I used for presenting something 2-3 years ago. And I told her all about something called Revealing, which is my old package that uses Reveal.js to build a presentation. And with this package, you can create a presentation with slides under it, and they will be turned into a beautiful thing on the front end. It's just a simple template using Reveal.js. So I thought, why don't I try and upgrade that one? And that was literally 2 seconds of work, because the only thing I needed to update was a little bit of templating. Where we used to have model.content.something, we now just have model.name and things like that. So it was a tiny little update. So yes, my first V8 package is now live on our Umbraco. And you used it, Lottie, didn't you, for the presentation?
Yes, I did. And at the end, I showed the slides in the back office. That's how much faith I have in V8. Present V8 from within V8. Yeah, and it all worked. And I even switched it to use the list view. And it just, yeah.
Good idea. Yeah, awesome. There we go. New cache. Oh, yes. We saw some of us maybe saw Shannon tweet over the during this week where he did some testing on the new caching mechanism that Umbraco uses now. Umbraco.config is completely gone, and we are using something that's a little bit faster and a little bit more modern than an XML file. And the results of his tests were that he was able to get almost or more than twice as many visitors on the site than he could before on V7 with the same amount of content and things like that. So hopefully our caching is a lot faster now and easier to use as well. Lottie asked me a really great question, is like, how do we now, now that we don't have an Umbraco config, how do we see what the hell is in the cache right now? The new cache files they look like database files, and they're binaries, and you can't really open them. The tip I got from Stefan for that was to look in the what was it, Umbraco new table in the database. That's what contains the JSON.
Warren, I don't know if it still works, but a while ago Warren posted a little desktop new cache explorer tool that
it should still work. So yeah, he has a desktop explorer tool for that as well. And speaking of Warren, hey, nice segue to the next topic, log viewer. We've been Umbraco 8 uses Serilog instead of log4net now, and Serilog allows you to do some more structured logging and actually also do nice querying on your logs. So let's say it's like a what do you call it, SQL tool for logs, and he also built a little log viewer for that right into the Umbraco back office, which should make it easier for people to figure out what's going on in their logs. So currently, I apparently have 6 errors in my site, and they are related to stuff I was experimenting with earlier. And it's really easy to actually find things in your log that you're specifically looking for. He has built in lots of example searches. You can make your own searches based on those. And I think you can even, can you save them as custom searches? I'm not sure, actually. But this is all super nice to be able to really dig into some of the logs that we have here. What would be a relevant one? Namespace, Umbraco.core. And this just shows you. So this is the structured logging allows us to have actual properties on each log item. That we don't have to, that we can easily pull out of the logs. The previous version that we have used a lot was Dan Booth's Diplo log viewer, and that was really cool. Except it was really hard to get actual structured data out of there because we're just using regex to create the queries for it, and this is actual structured logging. So if you want to see my machine, anything that's happened on my machine on Saul Goodman, then we can dig into that. Or if we want to see anything that happened for health check results, then we can dig into that really easily. So it's really cool. Yep. Warren is great. Yes. Then some miscellaneous stuff. We've upgraded to the latest Angular JS version, which is not Angular, but it's still old, but at least it's the latest version these days. everything is based on GUIDs these days. So int IDs are hopefully gone. Examine has been upgraded to V2. Which should allow for hopefully some more flexible searching and things like that. And we have removed a ton of code in the code base and changed a bit of code in the code base as well. So we have gotten rid of everything that has to do with web forms and master pages now. Which is a huge cleanup. That means we just don't have to carry around all that old legacy stuff anymore. Yeah, and that also means that we need to guide people in how. Hey, I used to do this. How do I do it now? So there's a lot of documentation being written right now. Hopefully, the most of the basics should be covered on launch, and after that we'll get a million other questions about stuff that the people are missing or that has moved around, and that's fine. We'll be happy to answer your questions and see how it goes for you. Did I forget anything? I don't know, but maybe if there's questions, then we can talk about it.
Something I thought that was broken, if you expand style sheets, sheet, when you right-click, there's no print. I thought, oh, bug. But actually, if you click on it, on the right, click on it properly, like not on the dots, but click on it.
Oh, yes.
Then actually, you should get. There was a nice, in my version, there was a much nicer way of being able to add the styles that you wanted. I don't know why it's not on yours.
This one?
Yeah, that's why I was like, yeah. So that's what I thought was missing from the right click.
Sure.
But it's because you've added it in a nice way. So well done, you plural.
This is always the same demo for me. I don't know, color red, all good.
But that's always somewhat nicer than it was before.
Yeah, a little bit. Thank you, that's a good point. We still add the weird stuff at the end here, but it's a bit of a nicer editing experience. Indeed. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I've forgotten about. Oh, there's one question that you had as well that I need to show people. This will change in 8.01. If we go to our user groups and change the administrator to also have translations on them, then we can actually have a chance to get to our dictionary section, because that one is kind of missing right now. So next version will have this one enabled by default, so that it's there for everyone, so that they don't get too confused.
And maybe a more obvious way to create the first one.
What are you talking about?
Broken, and so obviously you have to hover and then click on the.
Yep. Yeah, clearly when we have members, it's a little bit easier that there's a create member. Should also be a create dictionary item button. I look forward to your pull request, Lottie. I'm
furiously scribbling down all the things to add issues later that we can add pull requests to.
There we go. That's a spirit. I love it.
Well, good. Then Mike can do it, and I don't have to.
I said we all can do it.
All right. I think that's what I have for now. And more questions, please shoot.
I have a question.
Yes.
The different languages
yes.
that seems great, but the UI of the property types themselves, so like the name of the property type, the little description of the property type, that all still is in an XML file, is it, or is that going to be editable in the UI as well of the back office?
You mean this one?
So on the left hand, if you close that, then on where there's just a short name, how many posts should be shown, enter the description there. So at the moment, regardless of which language you choose for the content, the UI, the label, and the description is still in the same language. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is also a good idea to use dictionary items for. once you do hash and dictionary item, you can translate them in the dictionary. So it's a bit old school still, but that's how it still works for now.
I never knew you could do that.
Aha! There you go.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Cool.
The other thing I was wondering was, the split view, which I think is excellent. Would it be worth tying the scroll together so that those two panels scroll side by side?
Yeah, it's a really good question. You also know exactly why we can't.
Yeah, because
here we go. Different content. You get this happening, and at some point you start wondering, where does the scroll go? So yeah, we tried it out for a long time, and we tried things like, okay, well, at least we can scroll to the top of each item here, but it didn't really work out. Hopefully it's not too disturbing right now, but we'll see. Maybe someone can figure out a good way there.
Sebastiaan, if you had a jump to link for the items, so say you were in one of the items on the left, and you just had a little icon with a jump to, and then that ID can be shared across all languages. So if that content exists in any language,
could be an idea.
And that way, it doesn't matter if the page on the right has loads of other content. It will just jump to the same content.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Good work.
I've added it to my notes.
Hey.
Cool. Carol, you had a question?
Yeah. I was wondering if this starter kit is plans to keep getting used, because I know that there was some talk on Twitter about a new starter kit. So if anyone wants to make contributions, is there any point in making contributions or spending a lot of time doing it? Is it going to get
Yeah, the current one, we had to move a little bit quickly with this one. So we just upgraded the V7 one to V8, but obviously we want to work on a starter kit that has things like multilingual and shows off the features even better. But currently, for the foreseeable future, we'll have this one for a while laying around. So yeah, definitely, if you want to contribute, then happy to look at whatever is there.
Yeah, it was multilingual. I was thinking about maybe adding. So.
Okay. We are working on. I don't know how far they are with that, but we are working on a new version, which is going to be multilingual and going to be different things in there, completely different starter kit. So, yep.
Awesome.
Cool. Any other questions?
I forgot to show off the tours. The tours also still work.
Are tours multilingual?
Good question. Probably not. Oh no, we got lost. Okay, they work sort of.
And I was just going to ask.
So they are not multilingual because they now. I got lost here exactly at the thing that I just made multilingual. So looks like there's a problem there. Oh, very good point here. Let's see. I see something in the chat here. Content page. Let's add one more property. I want to pick multi-URLs for some reason. I don't know what this is. So not only did we add the RJP multi-URL picker to the core now, and good news, it's also coming to V7. Let's see how that goes. Where did it go? Yes. URLs from either the content tree or from the media section, or we can type our own URL if we wanted to. So multi-URL picker is all built in, and not only did we build it in, thanks Rasmus for that, we wanted to thank him a little bit more, and we just hired the guy. So Rasmus is working at HQ since February 1st. One less package we need to install, exactly.
Cool. Any more? Any more for any more?
Is there anything happening special about V8 and cloud? Is there anything we need to know about V8?
I forgot to show. This is my blog. This is my blog on the cloud in V8. So yes, it's not special at all. It just works.
Cool.
I guess there won't be one magic button that we can just press and have our site on it, no?
Not right now, but as soon as we launch on Tuesday, we'll have. I mean, you can sign up for another trial on cloud and get your first V8 site running immediately.
I have a question about that. For once V8 is released, whenever you create a new project on cloud, will you be able to pick between V7 or V8? Or okay.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Of course, we know that not everybody can move to V8 just yet. So for the foreseeable future, for a long time, we'll have a V7 option. So.
Cool. Any more?
A question that we had from London was how
No V6 on cloud. No, thank you. Sorry, Lottie. Yes.
No. How long will V7 be supported?
I do not know. We're still deciding. Hopefully, we'll have more info on Tuesday.
Kevin then pointed out that like V6 has still had the odd upgrade up until recently, so you know.
Yeah. So we know that we'll keep doing critical security patches if they are needed. Let's hope not, because that means that I have to spend 2 more days working on something really old. But yeah, we'll have more to say about support on Tuesday.
Cool. So if that's it, thank you very much for that, Seb.
Thank you.
Lots of exciting stuff. Right, so next up on my agenda, my very rough, vague agenda, where I'm going to be honest, I did there were various conversations throughout the weeks coming up to today, and people were suggesting, oh, this would be a good idea. So I put that people would take certain conversations, may not have told them.
I can confirm this.
Yeah, so I will apologise now for that. But I figured they'd be fairly loose conversations, so it'll be fine. So with that in mind, then we'll move on to the V8 package development conversation that I thought we'd all have if we've got any package developers with us. I know that Mr. Matt, award-winning Brailsford, is with us.
Hi.
Hi. So I didn't know whether you wanted to take this lead this conversation. In terms of what people need to take in mind for package development, if they need to upgrade, what approaches you've taken. If you've been porting your new commerce solution up to V8, so you're starting to get quite a bit of experience with it.
Not a great deal. I mean, at the moment it's still pretty early days, but I think I haven't really got anything to show, so it is going to be conversation. So people do need to get involved. But I guess it's if you have been on Twitter recently, I guess there's like quite a lot of conversations on there, and quite a lot of conversations from, I guess, what a lot of us would consider as pretty clever people, and I think there's just a difficult message at the moment because the people that are more vocal are people that really understand like really great architecture and structures and things, and they have some really valid arguments. But I think for probably the majority of the community are probably not that involved. But I think there's a concern in terms of if people that are smarter than us are having kind of identifying issues, it's what should our kind of worry levels be from not from the UI or kind of what's being released at the moment, but underneath there's kind of still a few little arguments that are going on around in the community, and it's just trying to understand, I guess, where we see those. Are they as big as probably some of them are being made out to be? Are they the showstoppers that some of them are being made out to be? I don't think necessarily that they are. I think, but as a package developer, it is a concern. I know, like, if you look on like the Slack channel, there's a couple of kind of package developers that are saying they refuse to update to V8 at the moment because it's not kind of as structurally sound as they want it to be. And I know, like, a few others on Twitter have said similar lines in terms of they've tried. I think the majority of these people, kind of fair to say, are probably working on quite complicated stuff. So not necessarily like your simple property editors or like simple themes that can usually just kind of go over the top. But if you are kind of building quite complicated kind of extensions to Umbraco, then these things are kind of things that you need to be concerned and know about. So I think that's kind of what the situation is on those types of discussions. I think they obviously get kind of quite passionate about different approaches and things, but it'd just be good to have a discussion and see where people think kind of V8 actually is. Yes, it's been released on Tuesday, but what does that release mean to you? And to what level you think that's going to be. We're getting a lot of requests currently in terms of open source stuff, asking whether it's going to work on V8. And it's like, well, V8 isn't even released yet, and we're already getting kind of multiple people asking us, is this package going to work on V8? Is such and such going to work on V8? So it's what we think V8 is going to be, but it's also kind of defining what are the expectations on package developers. Because if you think of the big ecosystem that's on V7 right now, for every package developer to jump on kind of porting everything to V8 is a huge ask, especially for a lot of the kind of more complicated things. So, like I say, I guess to start with, it'd be interesting to know where people see Umbraco 8, the release on Tuesday, who's kind of going to move to it pretty quickly. What types of things are you're going to be looking to build kind of out of the gates?
Cool. I mean, I know we personally at Yo-Yo, we are definitely monitoring V8, and I think we have some internal stuff that we are working on. We are looking at upgrading our internal site at the moment. So we're thinking maybe using V8 for that. There's a few projects I personally have that I'm thinking may use V8 for. So for us at the moment, it's we're going to take it slow with it, I think, and see how it goes. I mean, it's obviously looking good at the moment in terms of package development. At the moment, I think there's quite a few areas that you could go into for package development. There's a lot of features that I'm sure people would want, things that people use internally. Like, I think conversations having with some others, that a lot of packages are created through solving problems that you have internally, and you create a package to solve it, and then you think other people may use that, and then you release it. So it'd be interesting to see how people who've been doing that for V7 will take the changes for V8. I personally haven't done any package development for V8, and the only thing I've done for V7 didn't really do any. It wasn't any Umbraco related package, so I've not done any work on that. So I'm excited to learn how that works.
I do think there's an interesting point there where you say, and it's true, a lot of package development, and specifically with me and Lee, is that those packages were developed out of kind of client needs and client necessity. Now, that is a time, a specific point in time. And so we are supporting those things, but that doesn't necessarily mean we've got that problem now. So to ask a package developer to then invest that amount of time to, depending on what it is, I mean, some assume when I'm talking, it's a package that's got kind of a lot of work that would be involved to kind of port over. So I guess it's what expectations are on that, and in terms of kind of moving things over. So it is a thing that a lot of packages are developed out of client needs, but those client needs kind of go away when the project's finished. So to kind of then have package developers kind of not pressured, but people are asking. It's a big investment to kind of go back to that and almost kind of rebuild and redevelop for the next platform.
I suppose packages are an interesting thing because, like I said, they're made for solving a certain problem at a specific time. But I wonder if there's an opportunity there for having some kind, whether it's a Git repo for people who have an idea, in the same way as you may think of something that may be an improvement for Umbraco, but it will be too big for a core feature, so you want to make a package, but it's just an idea you've had on the side. So Dean's saying like XML sitemap generation. Everyone needs that. Is that a package? Is that part of Umbraco? If it doesn't exist, or is that a separate but it's when people have an idea of something that could help, but they may not have the know-how or the time to build a package, and it may not be something that's critical to a client need.
No.
Someone may want to contribute, may want to work on a package, may want to learn Umbraco through creating a package. Is there an area for that, for having a ticket system almost for packages?
I think so. I mean, Lee Keller with his sitemap TXT property editor, I think that's one of the first ones he developed a while ago, and he put out on Twitter the other day saying that if anybody's wanting to learn package development, this thing needs updating. He can't necessarily invest the time in doing the work, but he would support and kind of help somebody else learn the ropes. From a property editor, from a package perspective, that's a pretty simple package, so that's fine that you could do that. But for take for example one that's mentioned in the comments, which is like fluidity. Now that is kind of a huge thing, and there's a lot of fundamental things that have moved that kind of influence that. So things like the dependency injection is how all the different things are wired up, because ultimately what fluidity does automates the wiring up of kind of certain elements. So all that wiring is kind of changed a lot in terms of kind of UI as well. So there's a lot to do. It's essentially a UI builder. So I'm hoping a lot of the kind of directives are still pretty much the same. So they can still be used as they are, but again, it's a lot of work in terms of that. And then fluidity also it's probably an edge case, but it does a lot in terms of faking the content pipeline. So the way that it does it is it pretends that it is kind of a content editor, and then when at the point where Umbraco would normally kind of distribute that into its own tables, it puts it into, it then says, okay, well, stop at this point and I'm going to map it now to your database structure. So I'm not saying it's a hack, I'm just saying that's not a hack, it's all public interfaces. So it's, all I'm saying is there's a lot of things that are quite complicated. So there are different levels of integrations, and I guess some of the conversations that are going on Twitter, there's a lot of time to invest there. And if you, again, going back to the conversations on Twitter in terms of architecture, from my perspective, I don't know whether the architecture is good or not. I'm kind of listening to people like Lars and James, who are kind of pattern gurus, I suppose, that know what they're talking about, and they're airing concerns, but I don't know what necessarily those concerns mean. So, but for me, obviously fluidity will be a massive undertaking to upgrade. So if there's concerns floating around, do I invest the time now? I've got people asking, when I don't know whether there's going to be fundamental changes still to occur and kind of under the hood.
I was going to say something, and then you said something about front-end Angular stuff, and so I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure the directives that you're looking for are either still there or have moved around a little bit. with regard to C# stuff, I actually was extremely curious and have actually been spending the morning trying to get doctype grid editor to work on V8, which means all of the code in the C# stuff had to change. Not all of it. I mean, a lot of it need to move around a little bit. And the good news I have is that I also don't know anything about this architecture. So I am just listening to whatever is being said on Twitter, and I go into this project. I'm like, okay, what can I use? Well, there's this thing called current, and if I do a period, it has Umbraco context. Good, that's all I need. That's exactly what was there before.
But then you go on to Twitter, and
the
best practice gurus are like, never use current.
I know, but it works for me.
But I think that I think it's a thing that there's maybe there's lack of voice as well, in terms of it's difficult because nobody else has really played with it and kind of got real world practice. Because I'm looking from the perspective of kind of upgrading things like T-commerce, and that is going to be a huge one. And it's really early days for that. But that involves me kind of picking through the code of Umbraco, trying to understand the concepts. Like documentation would be great, but I absolutely understand where kind of Umbraco 8 is right now, and that's not the phase that it's in. So that's what you have to do when you're kind of on the edges. You've got to kind of look at the code and figure it out that way. So there's a lot of figuring out there and asking a lot of questions. But being the first people as well, it generally means only the smarter people are the ones that really understand the concepts are the vocal ones. And I don't mean that as complaining or whatever. That all of their points of view I absolutely value, but I'm probably very more pragmatic than kind of those approaches. If you read kind of my conversations in the tweets, like I can't understand kind of a lot of patterns. So I really try and get it dumbed down and try and find alternatives and question kind of the kinds of approaches. Are they absolutely necessary? But obviously, because the people that understand the concepts are the ones that are vocal, I don't think there's the other side of the argument at the moment, which is, well, you can use current. It's not going to blow your kind of solution up. Understand these are the kind of consequences of doing that. So
I just look at it from that way. I'm like, well, it works. The developers gave it to me to actually use, so I can use it and I will use it. And if it doesn't work for me, then there's something wrong in Umbraco. And I think obviously that the current has been given to us because we know that not everybody will immediately go, oh, dependency injection, amazing, blah blah blah, do this, do that. And that's fine. So we have tried to cater for that, and all of the things that you used to be able to do in V7 are kind of available through the current thing. If you travel down into it, there's services and things like that. So everything is there for you to use. And yes, I also was opening up the Umbraco source code to see where some of these things have moved to. Some of the concepts have changed a little bit. So this was more around data types and property editors and things like that. So those things have moved around a little bit. So that's definitely something that we need to get used to.
Would it be fair to say, though, that the code base isn't probably in a position where it's non-moving?
I don't know.
Because I think in a lot of, like, even if you ignore kind of the best practice stuff and say, well, assume that everything that's been architectured is fine to kind of work with, I still think there are areas where things are moving around. So like even last week, even just things like moving namespaces. It doesn't sound like a big problem, but when you're a package developer, the issue for package developers is backwards compatibility. So it's what at that point does, I think what a lot of people also don't want to do, the complexity of new stuff and not knowing what it is aside, I think the next concern about kind of where things are and things still a little bit volatile is that what you don't want to do is invest a lot of time in redeveloping for V8, and then straight away at 8.1, you're back to kind of backwards compatibility maintaining.
We are absolutely trying to do our best to not break stuff again. Of course, last week everything moved around because panic. We have 1 week. Okay, and then now we're in a place where like, okay, we're releasing this, so we need to make sure that this is gonna stick around for a while. We even made some stuff internal. It's like, oh well, let's not give it out yet because this might still change. So we're trying to maintain backwards compatibility. Of course, I can't promise you that nothing will break in one, but we're as we usually do, we try not to break too many big things, and we try to foresee problems if we do break things. So please, yes, you can start now.
I do have a question in regards when we're talking about obviously conversation on Twitter about various patterns and having things done in the right way, and whatever that means. Is it because when it comes to package development, there are various articles floating around, there are people who are very knowledgeable about the matter, but in terms of a core place for documentation about how you would go around creating a package, how you would bind certain parts in the Umbraco UI, obviously there is the site that details essentially all the Umbraco API endpoints. Is that a usable bit of documentation? Is it just a documentation issue? And obviously that's a core problem for everything. You know, it's not as simple as we just need to write the documentation, because who's going to write it? Who has the time to write it? Most of the time it's people in their own free time. But if there are people who are very knowledgeable about patterns and the best way of doing stuff, then if that is put down in a way that is just said to people who are unaware of those patterns and concepts, this is how you do it, then people can start creating their own packages without having to worry about whether I'm doing it right, because they have been guided in a way that will be good.
I think documentation plays a part in it. I don't think it's necessarily the be-all and end-all. I think a lot of the conversations that are going on, there are a few that are on Twitter in terms of, I hope that's documented, and is that thing, like, you ask a question because you don't know. Like I said, we're on the edge. We're the people that are poking around before anybody else because we've got products that rely on this. Like, we want our products to be on top, be there for people to use. So we're invariably the early ones. And it's understood when you're that guy or that woman that you are kind of, there's not going to be any documentation, or there's going to be very little, or there's going to be outdated because things have changed. It's just how that goes. That's fine. I think a lot of the things that are being said around patterns are more that they're not happy with the implementation. And so they're wanting kind of the implementation changing, and kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater a lot of the time, saying, well, if it's not changed, I'm not going to use it. But it's that thing of compromise, really. So I think like I say, I'm not the cleverest guy, really. I'm really good at standing on the shoulders of other people. So I'm assuming and hoping that the guys at HQ are very smart and actually know what they're doing.
Sorry to let you down. I'm not.
Well, you're only MPRs. That's fine.
I think you do hit a chord there. It's definitely about being pragmatic with any of the solutions that you make up with, and if it works and it's not ruining people's lives, then
I think there's a few things you mentioned there. So one of them is being the first one to do this, and let me say, you don't have to be the first one to do it. all of these packages, you know it as well as I do, is that they've all come out of a need somewhere, a personal need, a project need, and that's absolutely fine. I keep telling people it's okay to be selfish in open source. If you need something and it's not there and you build it, then how awesome is that? And maybe if you share it, that's even more awesome. I know people rely on you to rewrite all of your packages in V8, but maybe you can go the Leigh way and go, well, the Leigh way, not the Leigh way. I go, well, I don't have time to do this, or I don't have the skills to do this. I need some help here. Yeah. This is, I mean, every time we release a new big version of Umbraco, we have the same problem, of course. How do we cater as much as possible for the people who are writing packages so that they don't have to do too many things? And
I think the problem, I think that works specifically for open source. For if I take kind of selfishly from T-commerce perspective, obviously I can't go down those routes. But as a product owner, I want my product there as soon as possible. So therefore, I have to be that guy. So there's nothing there's no way around that. I think the only thing I would kind of like to see is probably you're saying here it's good to it's okay to be selfish and maybe don't develop right now. I think it'd be good to have just some communication in terms of maybe what is kind of HQ's expectation of what this current V8 is, and saying those complicated packages are probably not going to be out right away, and what is the suggested time frame for people actually kind of getting involved in these things? Because I guess that's linked to the question of, do we think that the code base is kind of fixed, as in going to be in a position of non-movement? But it's that thing of at the moment, and V8 will be released on Tuesday. There will be the invariable kind of posts of everybody saying how great it is, and it is. There's two sides to that story, isn't there? So there's it works great for the kind of brochure websites or the simpler websites, but as soon as you need integrations or kind of complicated things, it's where is it at that point, at that stage?
Of course, go. Carol?
Sorry, it was me. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been. Oh, I'm not on video. Right. That's what I've been since we found out it's launching. Right. Okay, now I need to start try to build APIs with it, doing some integrating dependency injection, doing some integrations and stuff, because that's what I need to know before I know if I can use it on something that's not a brochure site.
Because that's not even package developers. It's that's kind of integration. If people are kind of extending even for clients.
Yeah, most sites I work on, I don't really do a lot that are just brochure sites. So I think before I can use it, I've been playing around with V8 here and there. But now that we know it's launching, I'm going to get asked the question of, is it ready yet for a client site? So that's where I'm at just now as well.
Yeah, awesome. Obviously, Matt has a quite unique problem there, as in he's building a product on top of this, which is and we're sensitive to that as well. You obviously have needs to do integrations, which you can, and we will not break all of your integrations on the next version. We might break stuff, but we will document them and show you how to fix those things, of course. So this is all, we've been moving around a lot with a lot of things in the code, just so we can make it ready, so we know that, okay, whatever we put out as public classes and methods now are going to have to be there for a while. And yes, it's up to us to maintain backwards compatibility, which is a pain, but it's also a really great thing, which has allowed our product to blossom the way it has. So it's no fun for us, but it's good for you to use. So yes, we're really committed to having this being a public API for a longer time right now. And of course, you will have some unique problems in building something that's quite new on V8. Yeah.
I think for us, it's everyone's got their way that they do Umbraco, certain steps that you follow for every site. I imagine most places have. certain packages that you use and stuff. So it's more just finding out, one, does that usual way of building still work? And two, your go-to packages maybe aren't go-to anymore just yet.
Hey, this is also a great opportunity to rediscover the built-in data types in Umbraco. They're quite good these days. I was going to say this, and I'm not really supposed to be saying this. I need to say V8 is great, but V7 is also really great. So you don't have to go with V8 right now.
I mean, with a lot of the work that I personally do, and I don't know the sort of work that everyone else on this chat does. I don't know what sort of projects and sites you build, but I build quite a lot of brochure-style sites and quite a lot of. They're fairly simplistic. We have various, they could have some e-commerce integrations, there could be some API integrations, but the majority of the time they are brochure sites. And we tend to use most of the built-in stuff. The only things that I tend to add to most of my sites are the multi-URL picker, which wonderfully I don't need to do anymore, and stacked content. And it's purely a stylistic reason for that over-nested content. And that, other than that, we pretty much use what Umbraco has to offer. So I think for a lot, and I don't know whether a lot of people have the same situation. I don't know what sorts of sites do other people here build? Be interesting to know.
And what packages do you rely on?
Yeah.
Part of the reason for us moving from our own content management system to Umbraco was extensibility. We predominantly built for years brochure sites, Mike, similar to you, but not because we turned down bigger, more complex projects. Starting working with Umbraco, it became apparent very quickly that some of the projects that we turned down, we could have easily done in Umbraco. I think some of them would require third-party integration. So, for example, we've got a place that's kind of like a hotel, does courses and stuff, and it needs a whole load of booking stuff, booking for staying there, booking for courses, member management, that kind of thing. And I think it's kind of borderline whether most of that would be well done in Umbraco or not. So I've been looking forward to version 8, but I think what Matt's saying about the idea of plugins, even with our own content management system, as we've produced new versions of it, our own plugins break for our own CMS. We've built it in a very modular way so that if a client's got a very simple site, we don't install all the plugins, and if they've got a complex site and it needs them all, then they get them. But some of them, like for example, a tax calculator for accountants, we've probably put that in 3 sites over the years. We're not that's something that obviously so going back to Matt, I think it's a question of prioritization, and probably with the help from HQ as well. Maybe it's a community thing to look at what plugins really need, like what plugins the most. Maybe have a questionnaire, Mike. You're good at that kind of thing. So, but seriously, just ask people what is there a poll for the plugins? Which ones people most use? Which ones people most need? Which ones they'd miss the most if it wasn't in version 8 at all?
I was going to say, Seb, do you know from cloud with the pingback? Do you know what packages are installed?
That would not be
GDPR compliant.
GDPR compliant. Thank you. So we have
the Cogworks hackathon. They were doing, when they were looking at V8 in autumn last year, they put together on the Trello board that I believe is publicly available. They had the list of all of the ones there. And the idea then was that people were going through and trying to install them and trying to work out what braked and try to work out why it broke. I don't know how far it got, but there is the list there. I'm on a meeting room computer, not my own, so I don't have the link.
Yeah, I think that was a list of popular packages, and we also have Jeffrey from Perplex. Also, when he did his security talk, he also managed to figure out what everybody's favorite packages that were installed were, and I think number 2 or 3 is .type Grid Editor. And actually, the most of them on the list, they should either work with V8 or should not be too problematic to upgrade. So, but I don't think those are. I don't know how many is analyzed, but there's probably more that need porting over. Or not, or find some other solution for it.
The other thing I was going to say, working in our own system, that sometimes, unfortunately, you just have to bite the bullet. So if there are some packages that most people need in version 8, then obviously that, they have to be ported over somehow. And it may well be that they're not going to be in version 9. Maybe they'll be absorbed into Umbraco itself in version 9. And I just put a little note about, I was kind of half joking about .NET Core and the fact it's an old version of Angular as well, isn't it? I think Angular 2 is quite different. In another year or two, are people going to be saying, look, everything's using React now, we really need to look at React now? I don't know. That's space.
Vue.js.
Or Blazor. So everyone can write it in C#.
We're releasing V8 next week, and we'll see what the future brings.
And it's all going to be in Vue. They're going to in a couple of days.
As to how long the proper take-up of V7 took. I mean, that was back at the end of 2013 when I'd done nothing but quite simple stuff. Who was alive back then?
Oh, we all were.
So like V7 was released November 2013. How was it exactly? Do we have a similar? Was it similar back then, as in everything was broken and needing?
Yeah, and even worse, everything was broken because the whole back office was changed from web forms to AngularJS. So most things did not work, and it's going to be less horrible this time around because most of the Angular stuff should still work. Needs a bit of tweaking. Most of the C# stuff needs a bit of tweaking, but should also still work. So hopefully the uptake will be a bit faster as well.
From what I've seen, it doesn't look overly different. And as Niels was saying, and as he's been tweeting about, it's about guessing. It's all well and good saying you've got a new thing coming and we're going to work on it, we're going to work on it. A year goes by, we're still working on it, we're still another year. I think it's fantastic that it's actually just getting it out there, because that's when you can spend so much time thinking how much stuff can you put into it to make it the next thing, this feature and this feature and this feature, when the reality is, as soon as people actually get their hands on it, that's when you get the real feedback, and you make the even more iterative and improve bigger changes and make it even better than it already is. So it's fantastic. I think it's exciting.
And I also think people forget how lovely but horrible V7.0.0 was. It's like, yeah, it's great. And it's much greater over time now. So, yeah.
Well, we've got a few V7.3 or 4 sites, and they make your skin crawl. And they're not bad. It's just compared to the latest version, they're just the difference is incredible. So
yes, if you go to the /Umbraco and it's like the old, like kind of black and white style instead of purple, it's like, oh, one of these sites, okay.
Try going back to V4.
Or as someone mentioned, V5.
I showed a screenshot on Thursday evening, just doing the history of what the back office looked like, and the screenshot of the 4 or 7 site is still live. one of our clients. They still haven't paid us any money to upgrade. It is a delight where we all just want to remember where we've come from. But I think it's until you guys at the HQ almost force us to try it. Like, you can have something in beta for ages and people don't try it properly. I can see that by releasing it, you're making people try it and find the things. And of course, straight away, it's going to be fun. Intentional use of the word fun. But I do see that if you just keep it in like the beta version, people just won't invest the time that you need us to for feedback.
You're totally right, because
go ahead, Karen.
Sorry.
No.
You're totally right, because I've been kind of playing with it since when was we're not beta, we're told it wasn't called beta, but at CodeGarden. But as soon as we're told, hey, it's getting released on Tuesday, I'm like, oh no, I need to make a decision for client size. I actually need to know what I'm talking about properly now. So it does force us into having a play and seeing what works and what doesn't and feeding back.
I think that's where the communication might help come in as well. Like, it's that thing of expectations, and with devs, there's always a fear. Like, we're kind of taught to kind of use that because it's that fear that gets you looking into new things and learning new things. But it's funny because the more people that start to look into things, the more fear it puts into everybody else, which is good because it progresses the kind of product, but it kind of, I guess it builds an unnecessary kind of panic. So it'd be nice to have kind of something to set expectations, I guess.
Yeah, I totally get the panic as well, because I mean, we've been talking about this thing for 5 years now, right? So no, 3 years, sorry. So yes, obviously this is like a big thing, and everything in air quotes is going to change. So yes, absolutely. We also talked about having a beta period, and we just look back on all the times that we tried doing a beta period, and really nothing great came out of it. Of course, people discover horrible bugs in that period, but
you're not going to get people actually trying it, because it'll be the same thing, which is you kick the tires, you install it, you click around a little bit, create a few doc types and create a page and go, oh yeah, this is fantastic, it works. So I totally get the thing of release. Really, for me, it is just literally communication and kind of setting the expectations so people, yes, this is live, this is usable, but there's also limits.
And we have an FAQ ready to publish. I don't know what's in it exactly, but
cool.
Sweet. So shall we move on from the conversation?
Yeah.
Wait. Have we talked about V8 yet?
No, I don't think we have yet. Shall we talk about V8? So moving on to the next one. There's a rather large event that happens once a year. There's multiple events that happen a couple of times a year, but there's the biggest Umbraco-related event happening soon, and it's CodeGarden. I jest. It's CodeGarden. CodeGarden's happening in a few months. So there's a lot of potentially new people. I think last year there were so many new people coming along to their first ever CodeGarden. I'm going to have it in my head where I want to say CodeGarden now. It's good marketing.
It was a great experience.
Yeah, it's always good. Absolutely love it. I want to go back again.
That's why we chose the name, so you're constantly confusing.
Genius. Yeah, apparently applications for CodeGarden are open now. But yes, CodeGarden is fast approaching. And with that, Umbraco, HQ, they've done some fantastic stuff in introducing the uBuddys program, where if you are an existing member of the community or you have had experience at CodeGarden before, you can volunteer for a uBuddy and essentially help out people who haven't come to CodeGarden before and introduce them to the community. You can be their friendly face to connect them to the Matt Brailsfords and the Sebastians of the community. So first off, if you're not aware of that, or you've never been to CodeGarden before, just a quick call of hands, or yeah, we'll do a call of hands or shout out. Who's been to CodeGarden before? I imagine it's quite a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So quite a few of us have been. I don't know if anyone hasn't been yet. Have you been before, Samesh? Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry, I couldn't participate in CodeGarden yet, but probably next time.
Oh, cool. Well, so hopefully, I'm sure they'll be doing it for next time as well. But with the idea of uBuddys is essentially pair you up with some experienced people from CodeGarden, so you have some people to help you out throughout. But we were going to talk about what to expect at CodeGarden. Now, I was going to say, Carol, if you wanted to lead this, but I don't know whether it's an interesting one because a lot of us have experienced CodeGarden, and it's always a mystery as what we're going to expect every year. We don't know what's going to happen. They've started releasing speakers. I think there's 16 speakers announced so far. That's a rough guess. But there was, I put in what to expect from CodeGarden. So I don't really know how to continue this conversation because obviously a lot of us have experienced CodeGarden. But for those who haven't, Carol, did you want to give your 2 cents?
Yeah, I kind of thought this might happen, but I guess, so there's 2 options. We're recording it, so we chat a wee bit anyway, or rather than making it what to expect for new people, we can even just talk about what we're looking forward to based on what we've heard so far.
I like that idea because that also gives some ideas about what to expect as well.
Cool. So I guess one thing you mentioned is speakers. There's a few been announced, and I think the call for submissions closed this week, I think.
I think so, yeah.
So hopefully we'll hear more soon. I guess out of anyone here, Seb, you might know most about what's coming at CodeGarden. No.
Okay, I tell you what, I'll do a quick list of the speakers that have been announced so far. So far there's Tim Cadleck and Rachel Andrew, who I'm incredibly excited about that, and at the same time incredibly gutted because I'm not sure if I'm going to be there yet. Obviously Niels is doing his keynote. We have Trent Falbach. I'm just going through the list I can see. Emma Burstow, Dean Barker. Seb is doing a head of PR talk. We've got Fajosa, Shannon, Carol, yourself. You're going to be doing a talk. Morton, Adam. I realised I'm not saying the last name, so it's probably just saying people that no idea. Morton Christensen, Adam. I put myself on the spot here where I've got to try and pronounce people's names. Okay, bear with me. Adam Prendergast, Chris Callahan, Tiffany Proser, Philip, Becca Larson, Matthias Pedersen, Dave Wissenberg, and
do you remember to spell that though?
I can see how it's spelled. It's really easy. It's WOESTENBORGGSH. It's easy. And Anchor. So there's a lot of really good talks, and they're covering things from V8 side of things, headless. We've got some front end stuff. We've got performance. We've got things about the future, developing talent. So there's a lot of really interesting talks that have been announced so far. And as far as I'm aware, HQ are announcing speakers every week leading up to CodeGarden. So yeah, there's lots of things in terms of talks that to be excited.
We're doing a new thing as well for new folks. So I guess with the conference getting bigger and bigger, it can be maybe a bit daunting for new people coming along. I know it was even a few years ago when I came along, and there's all these memes that you don't really get and that everyone kind of knows each other, sort of. So we're doing a thing before the keynote on day one where Doug and Runa and I are going to try and explain some of that stuff and demystify it a wee bit for first timers. So hopefully some people will come along to that. If you've got any ideas of things that you wish you knew on your first CodeGarden, then let us know.
Well, it's been 11 years, so I can't remember.
Yeah. And other stuff I was going to mention, if there were people who maybe you have been before and you don't know about the things, so things that maybe aren't on the website or you don't know until you turn up and it's too late. So like the Run Club, for example, is obviously one that I'm interested in and go to, and I found it a really good way. I'm not great at the drinking and social stuff, so it was a good way to get to know people in a context that I'm a bit more comfortable in. And it means when you turn up at the conference on day one, then at least there's some people that you're like, oh, hey, we ran 5K around Woodlands this morning. And then like the social events and the pre-party, I assume the pre-party's happening again, Seb?
I assume so as well. So I have been so busy with VA that I've been doing like this, and I don't know anything. It's great.
Well,
I get to see it from the outside for once. It's great.
Well, we're all just going to turn up the day before.
There you go.
And yeah, just I think another piece of advice was like just watch along on Twitter and see what people are saying. Generally, people in the lead up to it are talking about travel plans or even like going for dinner and stuff the night before when you arrive. If you don't know anyone, then just like get in touch, and people are really friendly. And it's that kind of something I wish I knew on my first time attending. I was too scared to go along to the pre-party. Not scared, I guess that's not the right word, but I just didn't go along because I didn't know anyone. So yeah, if anyone is watching them and has any questions, I guess you can get in touch with, I guess, any of us that have been, if there's anything you're worried about or want to know more about. Anyone get?
Yeah, I just have a question. What are the idea of the uBuddy? When does it start? Does it start at the first day or at the pre-party, before the pre-party? Maybe Sebastian, do you know anything about the uBuddy concept? Oh, sorry, you had the shell. Sorry. Anyone know about the uBuddy? Carol?
Just based on reading, I think you get paired up in advance, and then you can speak to each other about maybe if you're traveling from the same place or anything like that, but I'm not totally sure.
I got the impression that they were going to publish the details of all the people who'd signed up. Originally, they were going to publish email addresses, which I suggested maybe they shouldn't. So I got the impression that they were going to say, here on the CodeGarden website, here is a list of uBuddys, this is where they're based, this is where they're traveling from, and maybe it was going to be a bit more up to people to get in touch, because that's why I think they wanted the email address to public, so they were going to leave it to people, but maybe they're thinking again, I don't know. But there was an idea that it would be, you'd find someone who lived near you, so maybe you'd meet at the airport so that you don't wait until you're there. But I think they're probably still working it out, knowing HQ. I don't think the deadline's passed yet. Mike Taylor's just posted the URL. What's the deadline like for?
March 8th.
Yeah. So I imagine once they know how many people have signed up, they'll probably work out what makes sense to do. I imagine.
What happens if you have too many uBuddys and not enough people to match them up with?
We'll have to help each other around.
There weren't there like 300 new people last year or something, so I think we'll probably be outnumbered if that's the same. It does suggest that lots of people don't come for a second time, which is
But I definitely think that including the pre-party, because that's definitely a place where you can go, you can feel alone at some part during the night. So that's a great place to have several, to have some company, as Carol said. The first time going to the CodeGarden, I didn't go to the pre-party either, and the pre-party does kind of require that you know someone. And the uBuddy definitely help out. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
I agree. And because there are lots of people who are kind of milling around in on the Monday and the Tuesday. So there are people around if you get there earlier on the Tuesday to meet up in a small group. and then you can go together to the pre-party. So I'm hopeful that it will mean that you don't have to resort to making friends in the girls' loo, which is what I did in my first CodeGarden. With girls.
I think the plan is that the uBuddys will get T-shirts as well, so that people can find you in CodeGarden. So even if you can't find your pairing, I guess you can find another friendly person. We're all friendly, right? But just a specific.
We literally have hoodies saying friendly on.
Just get uBuddy on the back and it'll be sorted. But I think it's a great idea.
I think for my I totally get people's anxiety about these things. My first ever time I went was like, okay, well, I'm going to a conference. I know that I'm going to a conference. Party beforehand, that doesn't sound like something that I would do. So I skipped that. And magically, within the first 10 minutes of arriving there, I got to talking to someone who was doing a super interesting project. And I don't think I stopped talking to people since then. It's been, CodeGarden is always such a lovely experience.
I think it's okay to say as well that you're not, like, I think the parties invariably kind of suggest that there's like a lot of drinking involved, and there is from a lot of people, but it's not a prerequisite. Like, I'm not a huge drinker at all. Like, I pretty much hold the same can all night. People don't realise, but But I mean, go on.
I definitely said the pre-party last year. I didn't drink the whole night through. The only bad thing that happened was someone gave me some horrendously spicy chocolate.
Just don't. If anybody offers you anything, just say no.
Just no. Especially if someone goes around with chili vodka. Especially if it's Neil's.
Neil offers you anything.
Last year, they tried to delegate it to me because they thought, okay, everyone knows what I'm doing, but if Carol offers them it, they might not realise what she's doing.
That is extra mean. Because we all trust Carol, so.
I'm more likely to try and give you tea.
I usually walk around with a empty can for most of the pre-party because I am a drinker, I admit it, but also I don't want to overdo it. And I find that if you don't have a drink, people kind of go, "Oh, must get you a drink," or "Why aren't you drinking?" So I walk around with an empty can, and then you wake up and you're ready for the conference, and no one's worrying about me. That's my trick.
I think on a similar note as well, to what Matt's saying is you don't need to drink, but you don't need to necessarily go to everything as well. I've kind of learned over the years not to stay out too late, even though I don't drink anyway, but on the Wednesday, because you know that the Thursday for a bingo is going to be a late night, and then that you're just so tired by Friday because you're talking to people all day, every day for like 3 or 4 days. So I've learned on the Wednesday to just go back to my hotel nice and early.
Conferences are really, really tiring. Like, you don't like even sitting listening to people sessions and then kind of going chatting with people all day. That's a long kind of 3 days. So I think it's great to kind of get out, make an effort, and go and meet people and get to know people. But don't feel guilty either if you feel it's your time to leave. Like, I don't think I'd stay out longer than 12 o'clock on any of the given nights. So, look after yourself as well.
Well, essentially what happens is you go into an environment that you're not used to with a lot of people that you don't know, and you are trying to interact potentially with a lot of people you don't know to make new friends. You're also trying to absorb a hell of a lot of information that you may not have known before. So it's fantastic. But yeah, I need like a day or two, if not more, to just nothing.
Yep.
Just to stop, because it's overwhelming in the best way possible, if that makes sense.
I was wondering, has anybody found so I'm with Matt, and sometimes I just need to be not talking to someone for half an hour. Has anybody found a good space to like get away from it all for a bit?
Round the back.
Round the back.
Which room is it where you have to go under the shutters, and it's kind of around the corner? If you walk, and they've got because that's where you can kind of bring I guess it's a dock building or warehouse building, and there's a ramp to bring stuff up. Usually if you go out there around the back. But I was going to ask actually, like I've been to conferences before where they do have quiet rooms.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting. I don't know if there's any plans for such a thing, but it's worked quite well for some of the things I've been to.
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea. I'll ask.
Yeah, the UK.
Sorry, especially now that you've told everyone on here where that quiet room is. They go on YouTube, and then everyone will know where.
Yeah, but if you all come to it, that's fine as long as you shut up. First rule of quiet room.
I mean, the UK Fest this year, they had a quiet space, which was really good. If you had too much, you just step in there for a bit, catch a breath, get a drink of water, whatever, and you didn't have to talk to anyone. Yeah, it makes a massive difference.
I think with the venue being so big, you can normally find somewhere and there's loads of seats around. I think the year that I gave a talk, I had to just have a lie down for a while afterwards. You can find somewhere.
The one thing I found about CodeGarden is that, and I haven't been for a while now, but I find it very useful when you're talking to people to not just talk about Umbraco all the time. I think if you can talk to people and ask, what about them and what they do and what they like, and see who you get on with, it's very tempting in a building of 700 Umbraco developers or whatever it is to just only talk about Umbraco constantly for 3 days, and that's pretty tiring, I think.
But that's all I've got. I've got nothing else.
We know that's a complete lie, Matt, because think of all the mental, crazy, awesome stuff that you create, your little rover that you made, or your little Raspberry Pi stuff, so we know that's rubbish.
Ever see your book, Matt?
Aren't you bringing your wife this year, Matt?
Yeah, so she can do all the talking.
I mean, essentially why I don't talk to you, Matt, at these things. I was just
Can you show us your Umbraco books?
No.
Okay.
My Umbraco book. It's not a real book.
You're kidding.
What are all the books on it? That's fantastic. Well done.
Is the award fake as well?
No, the award's real.
I'm just kidding.
They're both real.
That's really clever.
Thanks.
No, I live in a house that needs doing up, so we've got like a fake room.
So it's all cardboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all fake.
Right, so
Behind you.
There's a what? There's nothing to do with Sitecore in this room.
Okay.
So we've got 2 more things on the agenda, which are looking at time management techniques to prevent burnout when juggling awesome side projects, and also different approaches to componentizing Umbraco sites. So these were both ideas that were presented by Nick Remington, who couldn't be here tonight, I don't think. But I thought they'd be a really interesting topic. Obviously, we've been going for a few hours now, 2 hours. So I'll leave it up to you as to whether or not we want to keep going. I'll go with lack of responses, yes.
I can keep going.
Yeah, cool. So let's jump in with time management techniques then to prevent burnout. So obviously burnout is something that I think is very prevalent in our industry. That's fine, Carol. These may not last as long as the other conversations, who knows, but that's all good. That's all good, Mike. If you gotta go, you gotta go. I mean, if people need to go.
Maybe you need a part 2.
We could, I mean, these could always be put onto the next one. That's completely fine. I'm happy leaving it where it is now, and then having extra stuff to talk about later. It's probably better when we're more fresh. Yeah, and if Nick can get here, I like that.
Mike, if we're gonna if we're going to break, would you mind if I just do a little plug for our conference coming up in May?
Of course, go for it.
It isn't purely Umbraco. I think I've mentioned it in the past. If I just grab a link. But,
oh, Erica. Hi, Erica.
Hello.
How are you? I'm
doing well.
I'm sad to say that you've kind of joined around the time that we're finishing.
Oh, are you serious? But
Yeah.
it says 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Yeah, well, my time. That's what it translated to. Oh, that makes me sad.
Oh, I'm very sorry about that. It's
Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
Just repeat the whole thing. That's fine.
I know.
The last 2 hours, we'll just go again. So V8 is coming out next Tuesday.
That's hilarious.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. I'm gonna blame that one on attending for not translating that time right to my calendar.
Well, here you go. I can put you in from news right back at the beginning. From the next one, we're moving to meetup.com. So all the information will be on there instead. So hopefully that has the time better.
Yeah. Hilarious. All right. Well, I tried. I'm gonna go back to bed.
Enjoy your Saturday.
Yeah, you as well.
Cool. So, Dean, you were going to have a quick plug for your conference.
Yeah. So I've just put a link in the chat, and I did have a lot of help, but that's my first Umbraco side project, I suppose, for our little meetup group, and I just manually copied over a few of the events from Meetup. We're going to have a look at the API, but if I was to use the API, I think it'd be pushing it rather than pulling Meetup's one, because theirs is quite annoying. But, so yeah, it was a really great learning experience. As you know, I'm front end really, but we created doc types for. So if we were going to have an event, I would get a picture of the speaker and then create a speaker doc type, and they'd be doing a talk. So then we'd use the talk doc type and associate the speaker with the talk. And we normally have 2 talks per event. So we created an event doc type and added the 2 talks to the event. And then I thought, okay, I got a bit carried away and I made a venue doc type as well. But yeah, if you have a click around, and you can see it's kind of half finished, which is a bit worrying, seeing as we got an event in May. But and you're more than welcome to come along.
If you want to share your screen to show everyone else what it is, you're more than welcome to. You can figure out how to. I was
sure you all have. I don't mind. Are you sure you all haven't had enough? I mean,
if you're quick, it could sort of show us around.
Okay, if I can remember how to share the screen, share.
Yeah, I'm trying to find how you actually share screen.
I've got it.
Got it.
So yeah, just to prove that I've been learning how to write variables, and yeah, us front enders. But okay, yeah. So this is the home page. We made some standard pages, usual kind of about us stuff. The template, so I write all my own templates. I think we've had this discussion, and Sebastian. But because I'm working with other people, a couple of projects ago, somebody needed me to do something in Bootstrap, which I really dislike intensely. But because people tend to use it, I thought it would be a good idea if I stop running this meetup, that people can take it over. So therefore, all the templates are in Bootstrap.
I'm so disappointed in you right now.
Sorry?
I'm so disappointed in you right now.
But for using Bootstrap, I'm
just kidding.
No, I feel awful about it. You've no idea. 22 years of my own frameworks. But anyway, that's another story.
Hey, if it works, it works.
Listen, it works. It's just the just using utility classes just seems crazy to me. But anyway, so yeah, I guess if I went into events, so here's a list of events. There's no sort or filter at the moment. It's just a big long list of events, and that's the same ones from Meetup. So I just took some old ones, and if you go, so each event has a clickable title which will take you through to the event. I created a property to add the link to the Meetup page, which I'm sure could be done better, but so I just manually paste the link in. I've got a venues set of venue.types, I suppose, and these are the talks and these are the speakers. And the reason they're small at the bottom is because some of the talks had 2 or 3 speakers. So we used a multi-node picker to make that work. If I go into an event, we're still picking up the venue. I've used an add this plugin, which was just nice and simple. And then the schedule for each event is done using nested content. And I was very interested when I read Matt talking about stats content the other day, which would have been much more useful. But we've got a calendar and date picker, a time picker, and the 2 things are just either plain text or a multi-node picker to talks. And if you click through to a talk, this is probably the least finished template at the moment. But I have got them all listing here this way. And at some point we're going to use, and maybe you guys can tell me what the best thing to do is, but really I'd like to have tags with each talk so they can be tagged by JavaScript or Adobe or graphic design, and then we'll be able to filter them here. So I'm wondering if people have done stuff like that. I've got loads of help from the Umbraco Slack group, as usual. I just think the Slack group is amazing. Everyone is just fantastic on there. And here's our speakers, which has come out quite nice, I think. And if you click into a speaker, I've made it so they can add a bio. And also we've been able to see what talks have been done by that speaker. So Darren's done 1 talk. But if I went back to somebody that's done a couple, who's done a couple? Luke's done a couple. So talks by Luke, he's done 2 and he's got 1 coming up. So yeah, that's about it really. There's not much more to it. I don't want to bore you all, but yeah, this is where to buy the tickets, by the way.
So it's good to see. It's nice to see a little bit of Umbraco action in the wild, as it were.
Are you taking it to 8?
Yeah.
I'm going to stop sharing now because I'm getting embarrassed. But it was really enjoyable. I think it took me about 2 weeks really to get most of it in place, and the last week I've really just been going over tidying up the code and stuff and thinking of nice things to add. Oh, and mucking about with custom views and watching all the Umbraco TV on custom views, about 2 hours of it, only to realise that I really didn't need to make an MVC version of it, and I just needed to make a custom view with and change the list because I wasn't doing new layouts. But yeah, so
I think
but again, as I say, everyone's really helpful.
I think that's something that everyone can associate with in any forms of development. I'm going to spend a couple of hours looking into this thing, and then it turns into more hours and maybe a day. Then you realise you didn't even need to look into what you're looking at. Yeah, it's a classic. Cool. Was there anything else anyone wanted to bring up or talk about before I close this thing off?
Just a quick question, if that's okay.
Cool. Sure. Go for it.
We had spoke about, I had said I would do a virtual hackathon type thing again, and we were going to do it on 8. Then we thought maybe 8 wasn't ready yet, but obviously it should be now. If anyone would be interested in doing a virtual hackathon like we did before?
Yes, please.
So for those who don't know, we basically done a Saturday. I can see hands going up, so that's good. There'll be at least 5 of us.
We're all waving bye to Lottie.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. Well, it was just for me then. We done like a Saturday, and people could check in and check out as they wanted. We were all just online, hacking about basically. So now that V8 is definitely in a state where we should be building stuff with it and seeing how it goes, and maybe we can set that up. Pre-CodeGarden or post-CodeGarden?
Both.
Okay, nice.
When is it?
Sure. Okay, I'll tweet out.
Nice one. Cool. Any more for any more? No. Wonderful. Well, I'm very sorry, Erica, that the timings got messed up and you missed 2 hours.
Yeah, no worries. I probably wouldn't have made 8 a.m. my time on a Saturday anyway.
Completely fine. Hopefully future ones will. I wonder whether around 6 p.m. is better for everyone, because then it's 10 a.m. for people in America, 6 obviously depending on what people are doing on weekends, it's around 1 or 2. What time is that for over in India?
It's around 11:42.
Oh, okay. It's quite. Oh, it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's 4 a.m. in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an either or. I'll worry about that for the next time. We'll work out a time. Cool. Well, thank you all for joining in. It's been very nice to see all your faces.
You too, Mike.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for organising, Mike.
You're very welcome, and hopefully see you at the next one.
Super.
Well, thanks for doing version 8. Fantastic.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Cheers. Yes, well done, HQ for V8.
Thank you.
Cool. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.